Give it what you got, give it all the got, keep making it hot. Give it all the got, keep making it hot. Give it all the got, keep making it hot. Give it what you got, keep making it hot.
On the last episode of Nitro I covered on Reliving the War, while cutting a promo on Larry Zbyszko, Vince Russo confessed that Thunder is, well, it's terrible. In a desperate attempt to salvage the sinking ship, the WCW higher-ups decided to send the main eventers to Madison, Wisconsin on December 9th, 1999, hoping that throwing some big names on their Thursday night show might give their ratings a little boost. Meanwhile, Zbyszko got fired after losing to Curt Hennig, leaving Mike Tenay to hold down the commentary fort solo tonight until an unexpected guest joins him after the first promo. Could this be the episode where Thunder finally steps up and challenges SmackDown? Let's not kid ourselves, that's not happening. But hey, it'll be fun to see just how hard WCW tries to stop the bleeding as the company continues to nosedive. Sure, in hindsight, we can all laugh at WCW's endless missteps, but hey, back in the day, getting to see all the big names on Thunder in one night was a rare treat. As for the big money players who had to show up tonight to put in some extra work, they probably weren't too thrilled, but at least it kept them from getting too bored backstage. As the Outsiders come out for the show's opening promo, Mike Tenay reiterates that all the big stars are here tonight for WCW Thunder. Scott Hall's got an upcoming ladder match against Chris Benoit at Starrcade, and he's here to cut the obligatory top of the ladder promo. Scott gets his usual big pop after saying hey yo, and he says his upcoming Starrcade opponent wants to make a name for himself by fighting the bad guy in a ladder match. The match type that Scott invented. Not really true there, big guy, but go on. Scott says Chris should pick up the WWF's Greatest Matches video and look up Razor Ramon vs Shawn Michaels to get himself an education. And Scott also says the ladder match against Shawn earned him enough money to pay off his house. I'm assuming he's talking about the Mania 10 ladder match and not the SummerSlam 95 one. Chris Benoit wants to earn some dough, but he'll never get that Outsiders money, according to Scott. And Big Kev says there's a lot of dudes backstage with chips on their shoulders, and one of those guys is Sid Vicious. Sid isn't the master of the powerbomb, this isn't a video game. Kevin Nash is the only badass in WCW, and it's not only all these people in the arena who knows it, Sid knows it too. Nash says he's going to powerbomb Sid straight to hell at Starrcade, and that's when the big man himself comes out. Big Sid says the days of Nash holding him down with his political stroke are over. Nash always thought he was better than Sid, but Kev had to stab Sid in the back. So at the pay-per-view, Kevin Nash is going to find out who really is the man. Kev then wonders if Big Van Vader's booked for the show or something, and Sid says no, wise ass. Sid then wants to give the fans a taste of what they're going to see at the pay-per-view, and hilariously, he jumps on the apron and he ends up taking quite a few forearm shots. It takes him a while before he actually fights back with a clothesline, and then Sid gets in the ring to push Scott Hall off the ladder. Sid then goes for a powerbomb. Scott pushes the ladder onto the big man, and if you look at that again in slow motion, you'll see the corner of the ladder caught Sid right on the head. Ouch. A few folks run down to join in on the fight. First, it's Dustin Rhodes who gets a piece of Hall and Nash. Jeff Jarrett then comes out to hit Dustin with his guitar, and I really should have started counting every time Jarrett did this in WCW. It's already played out, and he's only been here a few months. Chris Benoit then dashes to the ring like the chunky kid running to get his school dinner, but the Outsiders utilize the ladder to take Chris out. The heels come out of this little scrap looking good, but Sid and company will get a chance at revenge a bit later on. Mike Tenay runs down the matches we're going to see tonight. Creative Control defend their tag team belts against Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg. Kinda strange seeing as Bret's facing Billy Boy at Starrcade. DDP's going to face the Icon Sting. The total package takes on Buff Bagwell. And we're also going to see the debut of the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea. We started off well, but it went downhill the more Tenay spoke. Evan Courageous is also defending his Cruiserweight title against Rhonda Singh, and this announcement made Madusa come out to the commentary table. She said Rhonda wasn't even a Cruiserweight at birth, and no one's getting a Cruiserweight title shot but Madusa herself. Juventud Guerrera then comes to the ring with his kayfabe broken arm, and he says finally the juice has come back to Milwaukee, completely forgetting he's in Madison tonight, and even Tenay called him out on this. Juventud then joins the commentary table where he says he's here for the millions and millions of Juve fans. And yeah, Juventud Guerrera is gonna serve tonight as a colour commentator. Tenay's furious and he knows this is all because of the powers that be. The powers that be tripping balls for making such a crazy decision. We've got Dean Malenko taking on Booker T in our opening match, but the pre-match promo was longer than the match itself. And we get our first taste of Juve's excellent commentary as the Revolution make their way down to the ring.
Guys, they are very old, very ugly. And look at Shane, look at the t-shirt of Shane. That
It's going to be a long night, though. To be fair, Shane is wearing a fabulous shirt. What happened to the Revolution's new look? Do they not want to be the Team U Shield anymore? Anyway, Juve continues to be the greatest commentator of all time when Shane grabs a microphone.
Cut the music!
Shane announces another Starrcade match, Jim Duggan and 3 of his jabroni friends versus the Revolution. If Team Duggan wins, then the Revolution are going to become WCW janitors for 30 days. What a match provision that is, eh? If the Revolution win, then Jim Duggan has to renounce his USA citizenship. A terrible fate for Duggan to suffer. Shane then shows off his 25 grand watch for no reason at all. I mean, yeah, brilliant, good for you, Shane. And Dean Malenko shows a photo of Dave Penzer while saying this is what typical useless humanity looks like. I'm guessing Penzer didn't know this was going to happen and it was a bit of a rib, but yeah, very funny. Saturn then says, divided you stand, united we fall, as he continues to huff glue before coming out to the ring. And Juve's still throwing out some crazy comments that I'm going to have to make a supercut of. He's being unintentionally hilarious every time he opens his mouth. Douglas joined Mike Tenay and Juventud Guerrera on commentary for our next match, which has to be the most random commentary squad in the history of pro wrestling, and Booker T dominated Stinko Malenko in the early going. Dean took the axe kick followed by a big clothesline, and when Perry Saturn tried to help out his Revolution teammate, Stevie Ray was right there to stop him. Booker stops a crossbody with a spine buster. Juve said that was an excellent bump, but Booker misses a Harlem sidekick and this allows Shane to hit Book with his arm cast. Dean then applied the Texas Cloverleaf and Malenko gets a win via knockout. To ensure the Revolution don't do any more damage, Hacksaw Jim Duggan runs down to the ring, and Juve says Hacksaw's funny just like the juice. My god. Backstage, Sid, Benoit and Rhodes have to fight their way into Russo's office. They get in and they demand a match against the Outsiders and Jeff Jarrett tonight. Russo tells the boys that won't be a problem. So that's our main event set for tonight's episode of Thunder. We have a character debut next. It's the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea. Russo wasn't lying when he said the big stars were going to be on Thunder tonight, was he? Afkapai is taking on Vampiro tonight. The gimmick is obviously inspired by Prince, and I'm not joking. Juve says he looks like he looks like the F slur. Juve likes Ikea's girl Paisley, but he says the Prince has no skills or talent. As for Vampiro, he stole Juve's move, so the Juice doesn't care about him at all. Oklahoma joined the commentary team this time around, and Mike Tenay looks like he's about to give up. I wouldn't blame him at all. Jerry only commentates too. Tenay says he can't get a word in as the Prince takes a front spin kick from Vampiro. Ikea then gets sent over the top rope, and we then cut to outside the arena where Roddy Piper gets out of his limousine. Back in the ring, Vampiro takes a rough-looking powerbomb. Ikea then headbutts Vampiro right in the vampire balls, but strangely, the Prince uses the back of his head when performing this illegal move. Oklahoma then approaches Paisley and he whispers something in her ear, and this results in Ferrara getting smacked in the face. The question is, what did Oklahoma actually say to her? Let me know in the comments. Vampiro lands on his feet following a monkey flip. He wrecks Ikea with a super kick. Vampiro then covers his opponent and he wins via pinfall. So the artist loses his in-ring TV debut and it's back to business as usual, really. The sore loser takes it out on Oklahoma, though I'm not mad at this at all. But then Steve Williams runs down and he takes Ikea out with a back suplex. What a terrible way to introduce a new character. The Prince looked like a complete jabroni. In Russo's office, Vince tells Mona that there's only room for one women's wrestler in WCW, and that means Mona's getting fired. This doesn't make sense, seeing as WCW also has Asia, Madusa, Midnight, and the woman who interrupts this meeting, Rhonda Singh. She thanks Russo for this shot she's getting at the Cruiserweight title. The boys behind her have a good laugh, and when Rhonda whispers some sort of ratings ploy she has if she doesn't win the championship tonight, La Parka gets a good look at the moon while Shane's about to do something he might regret later. Absolute degenerates. We don't know what Rhonda was talking about here, but I'm sure we'll find out later on. Nick Patrick informs Roddy Piper that the powers that be have sent out a memo. After what happened in the Hennig vs Sabisco match on Nitro, the referee's decisions and upcoming matches are now final. This means the replay rule shouldn't get randomly introduced when it's convenient, and it also means the referees can rule match outcomes any way they please. Piper gives an example: someone loses a tooth in the ring, that could be a DQ, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Piper says this is kinda stupid, and I agree, but Piper says he's going to take full advantage of this, and so's Nick Patrick. We then cut to Stevie Ray and Saturn continuing their fight in the backstage area, and we see these two brawling a few more times during the show. We'll get back to these guys a bit later on. Next up, it's a backstage interview with Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg. Hart says even though he's facing Goldberg at Starrcade, these two are united tonight on Thunder. Creative Control may be tough, but they've never faced a team like the Hitman and Billy Boy. Goldberg says if he were Creative Control right now, he'd be very afraid, because tonight Patrick and Gerald are next. That Rhonda Singh vs Evan Courageous match, it doesn't happen. Instead, Singh wrestles Madusa, yet there was no official announcement made about this change. It's weird too, seeing as Rhonda just thanked the powers that be for this opportunity, so chalk it up to WCW just being WCW. Evan goes on commentary as Tenay loads his gun underneath the commentary table, and Hoovy laughs at Courageous, calling his girlfriend ugly and questioning if that's the best he can really get. Rhonda performs a belly bounce before taking a seat on Madusa. The ring shakes when she misses a top rope splash, and Evan's already on the apron getting ready to interfere. Madusa pulls off a few middle rope drop kicks. She then gives Evan a kiss. Rhonda runs into the Cruiserweight champion, and this allows Madusa to win the match after a roll up. Terrible stuff right here. Madusa celebrates outside with Evan's Cruiserweight belt, and Rhonda shows us that ratings ploy she talked about earlier on by beginning a striptease in the middle of the ring. Before she can unleash the beasts, a loud static sound plays in the arena. The lights go out and someone attacks Rhonda. We don't know who it is, but when the lights come back on, Rhonda's out cold. Another mystery on WCW programming. Ooh. Backstage, Roddy Piper still tries to come to terms with the referees of WCW being handed this new power regarding their match decisions being final. It seems to have given him a confidence boost, and he wants to talk to the powers that be. We'll come back to this in a moment, but first we're going to check in with the brightest prospect WCW has to offer.
Half crowbar will travel.
Now that your daddy's gone, you walk around here thinking you are someone. But David Flair, you could have had it all, but the unfortunate truth is you suck big balls.
Because of what happened on Nitro, Jerry Flynn wants a match against David Flair inside the block, and I'll actually die laughing if Flynn loses another one of his so-called speciality matches. Flair Jr. says to be the man, you gotta beat the man, while looking like he has a terrible headache. And then he starts wrecking the place with his crowbar. A very calm and collected individual is young David Flair. He then goes into the block where Flynn scopes his opponent out early on, but when Flair gets inside, he finds Buzzkill. Buzzkill wants his brothers to calm down and get along with each other while probably smoking a peace pipe or something, but he gets attacked by David and the fight's on. In no time at all, David gets put in a rear naked choke, so all Flynn has to do is walk out of the block, and I don't believe it. Tank Abbott returns to WCW and he knocks Flynn out with a right hand. It's not Tank's return that I find unbelievable, it's the fact that Flynn lost another block match, and I think that's 3 in a row now. What an absolute gobshite. The Creative Control vs Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg match is up next, and it looks like Creative Control have gotten themselves a little insurance policy. Referee Slick Johnson's going to officiate this one, and it looks like he's going to favour the bald-headed champions. The boys make their entrances, everyone's in the ring, and here we go. Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg, what a delightful tag team, and I'm sure they'll remain best friends forever. Bret says, "I'll knock your block off, mister," to Gerald before applying a wrist lock. His Excellency then delivers a series of right hands in an effort to break Jerry's arm. Unfortunately, this doesn't work and the Hitman ends up taking a clothesline. Bret takes a double back elbow and Johnson's counting fast. What an absolute slime ball. He then cuts Goldberg off in the corner, so yeah, this isn't going to end well. At that very moment, Roddy Piper's music plays in the arena and Hoovy says, "The reality's coming." I swear to God, this episode of Thunder's been totally worth it just for Guerrero's commentary. I know English isn't his first language, but the stuff he's coming out with is absolute gold. Piper tells Slick to beat it, and when Johnson won't leave, he gets slapped in the face. Guerrero then states the painfully obvious when he says Piper's now the referee, and our match ends with Goldberg performing his swinging neckbreaker and hitting spears on both Patrick and Gerald. Goldberg then performs the jackhammer while Bret locks in a sharpshooter, and Piper goes down for the 1-2-3 as the other member of Creative Control taps out. We have new tag team champions, meaning Bret is now a double champion. Remember, these two are also facing each other at Starrcade, so it's quite an interesting situation we have going on here. Bret grabs a microphone after celebrating. He says both he and Goldberg are fully aware of what's at stake come Starrcade. Bret then extends his hand to Goldberg and he wishes him all the best, and he says, "May the best man win." Bret wants to find out who's really the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, and he ends the promo by wishing his upcoming opponent good luck. In hindsight, this is quite the promo right here from the Hitman. Stevie Ray and Saturn continued their fight until they ended up back in the ring. Just by sheer chance, a referee was also waiting inside the ropes, so hey, bonus 2-minute match on Thunder, we're getting spoiled. Stevie gets suplexed out of his boots, and after performing an inverted atomic drop, Saturn pulls off a springboard dropkick. Stevie comes back with a press slam, and when the two fight in the corner, Perry gets desperate and he kicks Charles Robinson right in the balls. Hoovy thought this was really smart. Stevie then performs a pump kick that missed by a mile, but Perry still took the bump, and Creative Control interfere when Stevie goes for the slapjack. This allows Saturn to win via pinfall. Booker T hits the ring to help his brother fight off Creative Control, and sorry, this felt like a complete waste of time. Roddy Piper's in Russo's office and he's all pumped up after Bret and Goldberg won the tag team championships. Russo, however, isn't happy about this outcome. Piper reminds Vince that it was he who said the referee's decisions are now final, so Russo cracks his knuckles like he did on Nitro, but Piper sees La Parka coming. Piper takes the chair away from La Parka, he tells him to sit down like a dog, and he slaps him in the face. If you look closely, La Parka seems a bit annoyed that Piper ripped his sick wrestling gear. Russo says he's going to make this simple. The next time it's going to be Vince's final decision and Roddy's on very thin ice. The hot rod won't work again if he continues to screw up like this. Sting's facing DDP soon, and the Stinger says he doesn't care much for what Paige had to say on Nitro. He's a lot more eager to announce that Liz is now his new manager, and Liz no longer represents trash like the Total Package. Speaking of which, Mr. Package himself comes out next for his match against Buff Bagwell, and Hoovy says he's going to look just like the Total Package in a couple of months. All he has to do is take more juice. Seriously, Juventud Guerrera is absolutely unhinged, and I love it. Tenay wonders if this is some sort of extensive training program Hoovy's talking about, and Guerrera says, yeah. And when Tenay wonders if the juice is orange or apple, Hoovy says he prefers the real juice. DDP's our guest commentator for this one. We again have about 2 or 3 minutes of action, and Paige directs his first comments to Hoovy when he tells him to shut up. Headlock and shoulder block from Buff. Luger gets frustrated, so as soon as he gets the chance to, he lays the boots in. Buff comes back with 2 body slams followed by a neckbreaker, and when the action goes to the outside, Buff begins fighting with DDP. This is where the match ends, unfortunately, as Luger joins in too, and security's forced to rush in to break everyone up. Juventud kept his juice throughout the whole thing though, so all's good. Oh my god, I think I'm becoming a Juventud Guerrera fan. Vince Russo wants to know why Duggan isn't cleaning the toilets and why is he deciding to get in the ring when he's not welcome. Duggan says he was fighting for America when he went after the revolution, so Vince wants his boys to leave so Russo can talk to Jim about the good old US of A. Everyone leaves and Russo says America and the people of America don't care about Hacksaw Jim Duggan. The people aren't buying tickets to see Hacksaw perform, and it's not like kids are running around buying foam 2x4s at live shows. Russo thinks the USA stands for three things: me, myself, and I. And when Duggan says he still believes in America, Vince tells him to go out and fight this battle he can't win. The people Duggan fight for couldn't care less if he were dead or alive, which, by the way, is a bit messed up, seeing as Jim beat cancer not all that long ago. Duggan was set for a match against Asia next on Thunder, and even though the referee sent the other Revolution members back up the ramp, Russo sent his boys out to beat up Hacksaw. We have got a 5-on-1 beatdown here. Asia stands on the apron as Duggan gets wrecked by Hennigan Company. The Revolution then come down holding hot dogs and apple pie. And the Revolution proceed to stuff the hot dogs into Jim's boiler suit while Saturn eats some delicious pie. At least Perry isn't wasting food, you know. In the end, Harlem Heat run down to save Duggan. Either that or they want a few hot dogs. Hacksaw's been beaten up, he's had mustard smeared all over his face, and he's got a few sausages lodged up his bum. So it's not a great night for Mr. Duggan. Next up, we've got the DDP vs Sting match, and this one had potential. Unfortunately, we've only got like 10 minutes of runtime left on the show, plus we've still got the 6-man tag team main event, so this one was completely rushed. It's insane that you'd rush a DDP vs Sting match, but well, here we are. Page takes a few clotheslines right at the opening bell before falling victim to a Stinger splash. Just like that, Sting's able to apply the Scorpion Deathlock, but Page makes it to the ropes. When Page tries to fight back, he ends up taking the referee out. Remember too that the referees walked out at the end of Nitro this week due to this kind of stuff happening all too frequently, and tonight we're right back at square one. Anyway, the total package shows up to attack Sting. The bell then rings to signal the end of the match. Dallas picks Sting up and he delivers a diamond cutter, and Sting goes down for the 1, 2, 3. Yes, the bell sounded twice, but to be fair, Nick Patrick was out cold the first time around. I think the timekeeper just got a bit trigger happy. Before our main event, Chris Benoit said the Outsiders and Double J are going to find out why the Crippler is silent but violent. Dustin Rhodes said Sid's going to smash his opponents' heads in, and Sid said the families of his opponents tonight are going to have a hard time identifying their remains. This little line seemed to freak out Mean Gene Okerlund. The Outsiders and Double J make their way down to the ring first. They take their sweet time too, while the babyfaces dash down to get the match started. After a big old brawl, it settles down to Chris Benoit and Double J, and Benoit performs a backbreaker followed by a dropkick. In comes Dustin Rhodes. He spared no expense on his wrestling gear, as you can see. Hoovy wants Dustin to show some juice and show some love, but he gets attacked by Big Kev from the apron before Jarrett tags out. Kevin attacks Dustin in the corner and Scott tags in soon afterwards. More strikes in the corner follow, and we're now seeing quick tags from the bad guys. Nash is back in with a clothesline before Double J takes over once again. Dustin finds himself in a sleeper, but he manages to escape by slamming Jeff to the mat. The crowd begin to clap as Dustin tries to make it to his corner, and he ends up tagging in Big Sid before the match breaks down. Sid cleans house, so all 6 men get in the ring. After a brief scrap, the Outsiders get left alone with Big Sid, but the Millennium Man puts Hall and Nash down with a double clothesline. Scott leaves the ring, and this leaves Kev all alone to take a big boot, and Sid then looks for the powerbomb. Remember, Nash and Sid face each other in a powerbomb match at Starrcade. Unfortunately for Sid, Double J runs in to hit him with a guitar, and this is enough to give Nash a pinfall victory. So a very brief main event here that didn't end well for Dustin Rhodes, Chris Benoit, and Big Sid. You know what, this wasn't bad. Sure, it still maybe had too many backstage promos and not enough time dedicated to the action in the ring, but the shorter runtime makes it way more watchable than Nitro right now. Things still move at a fast pace, but it's not to the point where you want to switch it off out of sheer frustration. Again, it's not a show you should go out of your way to watch, but when you compare it to Monday Nitro, it's quite a big difference, and it goes to show that sometimes less is most definitely more. The bell-to-bell action wasn't great. As mentioned, the guys just didn't get enough ring time, and cutting out 1 or 2 matches along with some backstage stuff could have helped out here. But Russo promised the main eventers, and that's what we got. We also got a pretty big title change too, so yeah, it was worth watching in my opinion. It's always good to check in on the other shows during the Monday Night War, and I'll be sure to look at SmackDown again very soon. Have a good one, folks, and please take care.